Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Space KARENS, written by Zealous Ideal, Sir 264. One of the biggest commodities sold in the galaxy was organs. The Quam are the largest supplier. Where do they get them? Who knows? There are rumors. What I do know is this. It isn't really cost-effective to raise organisms from their viscera, whether that be farming or clone mills. The resources put into raising stock adds a lot to the overhead. It's much cheaper to acquire them from other methods. Of course, we do business with all sorts of specialists, in addition to Quam. Some of them are likely small-scale abduction rings. Some simply broker organs acquired from prison planets. A few even grow from labs, but those can be unpredictable. Once again, I do not know where the Quam gets them. I've never seen a Quam. Nobody has, as far as I know. I have seen their minions. It is quite obvious that they are manufactured. Their brokers are vaguely human, but they are featureless. They communicate via a machine on their wrists, not unlike a watch, that apparently translates their brainwaves. There does not seem to be a language they don't know. These brokers tend to wear a darker human business suit with black tie and bowler hat. Occasionally, they are seen in the Vulperian merchant attire, the familiar white cloak and the hood with a gold belt, but it's becoming rare. Their soldiers are a mess. There really isn't a standard form, although most have any number of tentacles, typically an odd number. Their bodies are a chimera of various parts stitched together, an alien child of Victor Frankenstein and David Cronenberg. Most of these soldiers are able to communicate, but it's typically with each other or brokers. The language isn't recorded in any archive I've seen. As for why the brokers tend to wear human attire, they seem to have quite a connection to Earth. Organs from their planet are high-dollar items. Once again, I don't know how they get them. The planet is completely locked down, and anyone that attempts to mess with it is destroyed. The human leader and his personal bodyguard seem to take great enjoyment from coming up with ironic ways to commit genocide. Yeti lungs, Tyrannosaurus livers, vampire hearts, I've even seen skinwalker pelts. Some of those creatures don't even live on Earth anymore. The dinosaurs are extinct on Earth, and every other planet as far as anyone can tell. Yet their parts show up on the market. I can't reiterate enough that I have no idea where the Quam acquired its assets. Anywho, that's enough fucking background, I think. You likely aren't here for any of that, and some of this information might not be entirely relevant, and I'm possibly risking my job and my organs by disclosing some of that information. My name is Jack, and I'm human. I was born and have spent my entire life on a space station in the Yakavian sector, a little slice of chaos affectionately called New Dubai. I do not know why we call it that. It does not resemble the city on Earth in any form, and it's old enough that nobody knows when it was built. I am completely non-augmented, so I live out in the open. I work at Glorp, the galaxy's premier organ retail center. I mostly run the front desk. Online orders are all automated, unless they choose the store pickup option, of course. I mostly deal with cash only, no record type of clientele. One particular day, I had just nuked my cup of worm and made another beaker of coffee, when a Diraxian walked in. This was weird. Diraxians were a militant reptilian race. They were known for enslaving entire planets and paying off the Galactic Federation to look the other way. They were also known for being stuck in and off and on war with a bunch of octopi known as Ulvalans. Currently, they were known as the race that no longer had any leadership. Their king had been killed by an augmented human, and their entire territories were stricken in chaos. Nobody had seen any of them this far out. Quite a few had turned up as refugees in the Viridian space, but it was incredibly odd to see just one way out there. But New Dubai brought all kinds of the course, and I remained professional. Item 473. The thing squawked. I was somewhat kerfuffled, and it must have sensed that. I'd never heard of item 473. 472 was a human left eye with the optic nerve intact, 474 was a basilisk gizzard. I'd never thought about what his 473 would be. Of course, I wasn't required to remember every item. There was a database POS system. I just kind of took pride in my knowledge of our wares. Caught me off guard for a second or two. "Do you not have the item?" it said, obviously frustrated, but making pretty solid attempt to not make a scene. "Well, sir, this item must be a rare item. Let me look it up and check. If I don't have it, I'm sure that I can get it. It has a stock number." I typed in the 473 into the GUID number field, and it took a few aggravated seconds to load. "Siberian unicorn horn. Inquire internally for availability and price." I have never heard of a Siberian unicorn. I opened the search window and found that it was an extinct Earth mammal. Being human, I probably should have known this, but Earth history wasn't required learning out here, and I've never personally been to Earth. I sighed, turning my first monitor around to the customer I could see it. The illusion of transparency was paramount to Glorp. "I need this today. I do not have time to wait in your management. Anywhere that you can have this shipped from would be accessible by me anyway. Good day to you." "Do you validate?" the reptile added. I nodded and stamped him out. He was, honestly, pretty chill about it. Rumors of the Drexians are so far grossly unfounded. Things had slowed down a bit that I was doom-scrolling the local space Craigslist. I was sick of taking the train back and forth from my condo in the Crown, and was looking for transportation. Something nice, but modest. A hover mode would be nice. Ground traffic was abysmal down here at times. I drank with enough of the elite that I'm sure that I could secure some basic air clearance through bribe. Aurelian walked in, practically kicking the door like he was a motherfucking shaft. "I want a refund," he yelled, finally looking up at him. I could see the yellow coloration of his skin that suggested jaundice. Trying to hide my amusement, I asked him for his order number or receipt. Most customers pay cash. Those did not receive a receipt. "Fine, it's 72135. The liver is defective," the bastard yelled at me. Of course, I looked up his order. I had to tell him. 3 days ago you purchased a pancreas, one from a different species at that. A human pancreas cannot accommodate the full functions of a Aurelian liver. The notes on the order showed that my associate told you of this, and there would be no refunds. Fuming. He would have none of that. Dude completely lost his shit. Called me all kinds of horrible words. Nothing I hadn't heard before. To be honest, I'd resumed my search for an automobile and wasn't being entirely professional. I even looked up at the CC screen. In the single customer parking space was a newer luxury sedan. This guy was not struggling, as I figured. Other than him looking like a reject from The Simpsons, he was well-groomed and dressed nicely. I let him go off for a while, despite my feelings about him. I get it. Healthcare can be a bitch, especially in a place like this. We don't even have doctors for all species that could possibly live here. Brilliants are not a common race. After he knocked my vase off my desk, the one with the lilies, I finally looked back at him. "All right, tell you what, we can offer you a partial compensation upon receiving the receipt from your surgeon. If he is reputable enough, we can cover that surgery and a subsequent one." He went silent. As expected, it was installed by a veterinary robot in a booth in a mall. Guy was not struggling. He was just a cheap ass. Obviously, there is nothing wrong with being frugal, but I'm not going to consider the consequences of another choice as an emergency. After I told him to leave, he threw himself a fit and proceeded to stomp and swear, calling me every racial slur they had for a human. My favorite being ape descendant. That one always made me laugh. Like, really, bitch, you evolved from crabs. Anyway, I had enough. "Dude!" I yelled. He stopped. I had his full attention. I followed up with, "See that round rug you're stomping on? Yeah, that's a trap door. See this red button next to my coffee maker? It drops you down into the laboratory. Where do you think we get all these organs?" He paused. Went to say something, and decided against it. He left without incident. It was all goddamn fabrication, of course. When I said I didn't know where our units came from, I meant it. For the most part, anyway. I've quite a few here and there. I assure you, they were all deserved it. Under that rug was a hole in the carpet. It was worn from years of people stomping on that same spot, and it was unsightly. That carpet is very expensive, takes time to locate a replacement for it, takes longer to get it shipped out here. Management was not about to allow us to just print a cheap copy either. The cheap rug we used to hide the hole came from Spacemart or some shit. It took weeks and constant back and forth emails to convince them that it was necessary. Oh, the red button unlocks the bathroom. Can't have junkies just waltzing in and overdosing. This isn't some convenience store on a slab in the outer ring. Their organs are completely unsellable anyway. The rest of the shift went normally, up to a point. Couple of lungs, hearts, fulcrum, nothing out of the ordinary. I even sold a Turcan femur. I tried to toss that thing like 7 times, running out lists, but the management kept telling me to leave it in the freezer. Guess they were right. Guy was practically salivating when I handed it to him. I don't know what he was, but he looked like a demon, and if you can believe that. Sure enough, I was vacuuming my area right before closing when the bell dinged and a customer walked in. Of course, my thoughts were along the lines of, fuck, a space Karen is going to ask for some stupid bullshit and keep me over half an hour. Home office is going to shit on me for the overtime. She was a human, or rather striking, tall, well-dressed, glimmering red hair, definitely business district. I could go on, but I'm not a private investigator, and this isn't an all. Sorry, I flew down here as fast as I could. Order 74596. It's already paid for. Flew? Yeah, she was rich. Most people in New Dubai took transit or drove wheeled vehicles. Airspace required expensive permits on the space station. Glancing at the CC monitor, I saw an Invicta 740. Single-seater, luxury fighter, class 90A. Damn, she had cheddar. Online order, though, placed by a representative of the Quam Empire itself. Holy fuck-tots. This unit was so rare, the Quam themselves didn't have one in their warehouses or whatever they had. So I wouldn't be tracking on any pointless service fees. Damn. I'm allowed to even encourage to skim a bit off the top of these situations, but it was paid for in full. Item 473. The horn of a Siberian unicorn. What the actual fuck? We did have one? I could have sold that to the Direxian for twice what her benefactors paid. They must have ordered it 2 minutes before he arrived. What the fuck? I went to the back and found it in a wild coal spot. I could have sworn it wasn't there earlier. We really only have 2 employees most weeks. Rashad works on days off. We know the space like a politician knows the massage parlor's locations. Her phone rang and I was boxing the unit. Quaint. Most people used wristbands or implants. Hers was an ancient Nokia. Was probably a print, but judging by her transportation, it very well could have been authentic. Like most rich arseholes, she had to place the call on speaker. Because of her reputation, or maybe her narcissism, she obviously didn't give 9 craps what I heard. A horrid, snake-like voice on the other end said, "Plans have changed, Aberrants. You are still to meet the vampire in Sector 19, outside of human territory. But they will not be aboard the Dreadnought Vengeance. And instead will be a pirate vessel, the infamous Defying Dutchman. They know everything, my dear, everything. They thwarted a plan of mine to acquire an interesting assortment of stock. You are to deliver the horn and issue a full refund. Have them sign a non-disclosure form 17A. The vampire will honor it. The pirate and his insectoid first mate will not, I fear." The woman, Aberranth, apparently responded, saying, "Understood. This will be the triple of my usual rate. Much more if you expect me to take out the pirate." The gentleman on the other end, who I assumed would be a snaky merchant, only followed up with, "Unnecessary. He was many enemies. We will figure it out. The collective is not overly concerned." She then looked at her phone, giggled, and pressed the red encore button, with zero embarrassment. She left quickly after I handed her the unit, and I mean it when I say quickly. She nosed up and rocketed right off the station. No security drones followed her as she approached the atmospheric shield either. Serious cheddar. After that I finished with my vacuum and went to the back to grab my lunch pail. Luckily, I still had a sandwich in there. The train to the Crown was a long one. I wouldn't be home for another hour, and then I heard the bell. Fuck! I should have locked that door when I turned off the "sorry, we're open" sign. I came around the corner, facing the barrel of a plasma pistol. A cheap one at that. Some type of print. Great. A junkie. "Everything in your register now!" yelled the junkie as he tossed a cute shopping bag at my face. Fucking arsehole. He certainly was an addict of some sort. Probably Stig. Guy smelled like piss and Schlurgorp Wivelbeast after a breakup binge and asparagus and pristine asteroid pruno. I didn't even put my hands up. Just fucking shoot me. Whatever is left will get a day off. I just nodded and then went to the register. All the cash goes straight into the safe, but we keep a couple hundred in there for these situations. There is also the worm. In the tray that typically held the tens was an assortment of 0010 fireworms. Simply put, a fireworm is not actually a worm. It is not even an annelid. It is closer to a plant. They are cultivated in the flesh pits, scented in the fields of sorrow, located on an unnamed moon in what is affectionately known as a death cluster. Aerobotic hive culture farms all kinds of interesting organics there. The sole purpose of anything they grow is death. They sell all types of fun products that kill in exciting ways. If you've been the victim of a war crime, good chance the pathogen was grown there. But someone paid a pretty good penny for your misfortune. Anyway, I pinched a seed part of the stalk and placed it onto the bag with the cash. I wasn't even careful or sneaky about it. The stighead was shaking and swearing so profusely, there was no way that he was concentrating fully. "Here you are, and thank you for choosing Glob. For all your degenerate needs," I said, as I handed in the sack. I stepped back 1, 2, 3 steps, and not all that quickly. Druggy opened the bag, of course. Bad move. Well, would have been. He was distracted enough that I probably could have wrestled the gun from him, but I didn't. Instead, the worm exploded, destroying most of his head and a few fingers. I finished off my coffee and calmly drug his body to the freezer, grabbed my new plasma pistol, and sent corporate an email about the new human organs that would need tested and extracted, and how we would need a cleanup before opening tomorrow. Richard and I do not get paid enough to clean druggy brain matter out of high-quality carpet, especially after I already vacuumed. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.